The whisper of gold. It began with silence, not the kind you hear in an empty room, but the kind that echoes inside a man who has run out of answers. He had tried everything, chased business trends, mimicked millionaires, read all the modern financial gurus, bought into the latest investment fads. Still, his pockets remained as empty as his confidence. The gold slipped through his hands like water, and each time he caught a glimpse of wealth, it vanished before he could hold it. And so, one night, burdened with debt and doubt, he walked alone into the desert, a metaphorical place, far from the noise of society and closer to something ancient. There he remembered a tale told in old scrolls, stories of Babylon and men wiser than he. They spoke not of apps and stocks, but of principles, timeless, tested, unbreakable. And in those dusty pages he found a voice, not loud, not demanding, but steady, patient, and golden. The voice said, "Gold does not vanish. It walks away when it is not respected." That was the beginning. This video is not a modern-day how-to. It is not a shortcut. It is a return to ancient financial wisdom, the kind that built the wealth of kings and nations long before credit cards and crypto. It is for men who are not asking how to get rich overnight, but how to build wealth that stays, grows, and serves them like a faithful servant. It is for the man who has finally realized that maybe the problem isn't the money, but the way he thinks about it. In the Babylonian tale, The 5 Laws of Gold, a father tells his son, "Gold comes gladly and in increasing quantity to any man who puts by not less than 1/10 of his earnings to create an estate for his future and that of his family." Simple words, but behind them lies a blueprint for financial peace and long-term freedom, ignored by many, obeyed by few. This video will follow the journey of a man who did what most of us never dare to do. He asked gold for advice, and this time he listened. He listened when gold warned him not to follow fools. He listened when gold told him that saving alone is not enough. He listened when gold showed him who it chooses to stay with and who it always leaves. And now you will walk with him through 5 timeless lessons, 5 voices of gold, each etched in wisdom, proven in history, and still whispering today for anyone who dares to listen. This is not just about gold. It is about what gold represents: value, discipline, patience, and respect. If you're ready to stop asking, "How can I make more money?" and begin asking, "What kind of man does gold trust?" then stay. Because gold is about to speak, and this time you will hear it. Law number 1. Gold comes willingly to those who save. The first time gold smiled, he didn't expect a smile from gold, but it came, subtle, silent, but unmistakable. On the day he did something so ordinary, it felt almost foolish. He saved 10 coins out of 100. Not for a bill, not for an emergency, not for a new pair of shoes. He saved it just to keep. And in that small act, something ancient shifted. It was as if gold leaned in and whispered, "Now you understand." In Babylon, the richest men were not the strongest or the most connected. They were the ones who learned this first law, the law that builds trust between man and money. Gold comes gladly and in increasing quantity to any man who saves not less than 1/10 of his earnings. Not 1/10 of what's left after pleasure, not 1/10 when it's convenient, but first, before all else. Why does gold smile at this? Because saving is not about money. It's about who you're becoming. It tells gold, I am not reckless. I am not waiting for rescue. I respect what you are. And gold listens. The story of Nomasir, a son of his 10 pouches. Nomasir, the son of the great Arkad, was sent into the world with a challenge, not to live off his father's riches, but to prove he could build his own. Arkad gave him a bag of gold and a tablet of wisdom, which included the 5 laws of gold. Nomasir, like many of us, ignored the wisdom at first. He spent freely, made friends quickly, and lost everything. His gold fled. But when he finally obeyed the first law, saving 1/10 of every coin he earned, something changed. His money stopped running. It stayed. It grew. Slowly at first, then faster. Not because gold rewards genius, but because it honors consistency. The modern parallel: Jason, the over-earner who stayed broke. Jason made $120,000 a year. He had a title. He had clients. He even had a leather chair. But he also had $0 in savings. Why? Because every dollar had an excuse. I deserve it. I'll save when I make more. I work hard. I should enjoy life. So the gold came, and the gold left. It wasn't until Jason decided to pay himself first, to treat his future as a bill more sacred than rent, that things changed. He started with just $100 a week, then $200. Not much, but for the first time, he was the master. The moment you save, not spend, your first intentional dollar, you signal something profound. You are not just a consumer, you are a keeper. Why do most people fail at this law? Not because they can't, but because they wait to feel ready. They want a perfect budget, a better job, a miracle. But gold doesn't ask for miracles. It asks for a pattern. Just as the river carves stone not with force, but with persistence, wealth is carved by the daily drip of discipline. Start with 10%. If not now, then when? What would gold tell you? If gold could speak, truly speak, it wouldn't shout. It would say softly but clearly, I do not belong to those who chase me. I belong to those who prepare for me. Every dollar you save is a vote for the man you're becoming. And gold votes with you. Law number 2. Gold flees from the undisciplined spender. The day gold took its bags and left. Gold does not argue. It doesn't scream when you abuse it. It doesn't warn you twice. It just walks away. Quietly, effortlessly, with everything it brought. And by the time you realize it's gone, it's already far beyond your reach, resting in the pocket of someone wiser. The second law of gold, as old as regret. Gold slips away from the man who invests it in businesses or purposes with which he is not familiar, or which are not approved by those skilled in its keep. But underneath that law lies an even sharper truth. Gold leaves those who spend without control. Because money doesn't just disappear, it is driven away by careless hands, undisciplined minds, and hungry egos. And gold? It does not tolerate chaos. The tale of Debasir, the man who spent everything. Dabasir once lived like a king. He had horses, fine robes, and feasts. But none of it was his. It was all borrowed, from friends, from lenders, from tomorrow. He believed that status was wealth, and pleasure was freedom. So gold came into his hands and left through his fingers, vanishing into luxuries, debts, and favors. Until the day the creditors came. And Dabasir, who once rode proudly through the markets, now crawled in shame, a slave to his own appetites. His gold was gone. But worse, so was his dignity. It wasn't until he learned restraint, built a plan, and spent less than he earned that gold returned. It didn't come back out of pity. It came because he became a man worth staying with. Modern echo. Sarah and the invisible holes in her purse. Sarah made enough, more than enough. Yet every month her balance screamed a truth she refused to hear. You are bleeding. Coffee here, a subscription there. The 10th pair of shoes that made her feel powerful for one evening. She thought she had an income problem, but she didn't. She had a leakage problem, and leaks always look small until they sink the ship. No budget can save the undisciplined. No raise can outpace uncontrolled spending. The illusion of lifestyle creep. The biggest lie the undisciplined spenders tell themselves is, when I earn more, I'll get ahead. But the truth is, if you can't manage $100, you won't manage $10,000. Your habits don't change with your income. They amplify. Gold doesn't care how much you earn. It only cares how much you keep and how wisely you use it. How gold reacts to chaos. If gold could speak when you swiped your 5th credit card on something you don't need, it would say, I don't belong here. If it could groan, it would. But instead, it slips away into the hands of someone with a plan. Someone who tells gold, you have a job. You have a future. You are not fuel for my insecurity. The wisdom you must learn early or painfully. There are 2 types of regret in money. The sting of sacrifice when you don't buy that shiny thing, and the burn of emptiness when you realize that thing never filled the void. Gold only stays where it's treated with respect. It doesn't respond to emotion. It doesn't reward indulgence. It obeys order. The law in one line. Gold stays with the man who tells it where to go. Gold runs from the man who lets it go wherever it pleases. You are either its commander or its victim. The moment you create a spending plan, gold leans in. The moment you keep it, protect it, and give it purpose, it stays. And that's all it ever wanted. Law 3. Gold labors diligently under the wise. How gold works while you sleep. Gold is not lazy. It doesn't sleep. It doesn't need coffee, motivation, or Monday pep talks. It waits, quietly, patiently, for the one who understands this 3rd law. Gold multiplies in the hands of the man who puts it to work. This is the law that separates the rich from the wealthy, the earners from the builders, the hustlers from the kings. Because earning money will feed you, but putting money to work will free you. The turning point from accumulation to multiplication. The man who asked gold for advice finally started saving. He curbed his spending. Gold no longer ran. It stayed, but it wasn't growing. He stared at it day after day, sitting in a bank account, proud but motionless, until gold spoke again. I am not meant to be guarded like a prisoner. I am meant to go out into the world and bring back my brothers. And that's when he understood. Wealth is not how much gold you have. It's how much gold is working for you, right now, while you sleep. The parable of the farmer's coin. A wise farmer once said, "A single coin left idle is like a seed left in your hand. It looks shiny, but it grows nothing. Bury it in the right soil, and it feeds your family for generations." Your gold is no different. Money is not wealth. Money that multiplies is wealth. The moment your dollar earns another dollar without your labor, you've entered a new kingdom, the kingdom of passive power. The modern mirror, Emily and the dividend army. Emily was not rich. A teacher by profession, she lived simply. But every month, she set aside a portion of her earnings, not just to save, but to invest. Not in speculation, not in hype, but in time-tested, stable ventures, dividend stocks, mutual funds, real estate trusts. 10 years later, she wasn't just teaching. She had a second income, quiet, consistent, unstoppable. Each dollar she invested sent back a soldier, then 10 soldiers, then a battalion. Her money wasn't in a vault, it was on a mission. The mistake most men make. Most men hoard money. Some spend it. Few let it work. They fear loss more than they desire growth. They wait for perfect timing. They say, "I'll invest when I have more." But gold doesn't wait for perfection. It waits for a plan. Because the risk is not in investing. The real risk is in doing nothing and watching inflation erode your empire while you sleep. How to make gold work for you. You don't need complexity. You need clarity. Start small. Even $100 a month invested wisely is a beginning. Stay consistent. Compound interest is not magic, it's math. Avoid gambling. If you don't understand it, don't touch it. Let time be your ally. The longer gold works, the harder it works. Think long term. Wealth is not made in sprints, but in marathons. The wealthy don't chase money. They build systems where money chases them. What gold would tell you tonight? You saved me. You protected me. Now release me. Let gold breathe. Let it move. Let it labor in lands you may never visit, but that will one day feed your family. Because the truth is this: gold has infinite energy, but it needs your wisdom to unlock it. Law number 4. Gold is lost to the reckless. Why gold demands respect, not emotion. Gold doesn't care about your excitement. It doesn't care about your instincts, and it absolutely does not care about your dreams if they are not backed by wisdom. Gold respects one thing: calculated decision-making. And this 4th law is as brutal as it is fair. Gold is lost when entrusted to the care of the inexperienced or the emotionally driven. Because gold is not sentimental. Gold is not forgiving. Gold disappears when handled by fools. The warning that most ignore. Every man thinks he is the exception. Every woman believes her gut will guide her. Every new investor thinks it's different this time. But gold doesn't recognize your enthusiasm. It recognizes only discipline and experience. And when you ignore this law, gold doesn't give you a second chance. It leaves and often takes your confidence with it. The Babylonian Cautionary Tale, Rodan and the Silversmith's Trap. Rodan was a skilled spearman. He was gifted 50 pieces of gold for his bravery. Proud and flushed with newfound wealth, he turned to his friend, the silversmith, for advice. The silversmith, an artist, not an investor, suggested using the gold to fund a jewelry business. Rodan agreed. Months later, the money was gone. The jewelry sold poorly. The business failed. Rodan didn't lose because he lacked gold. He lost because he asked the wrong person for advice. And gold, it does not return to those who treat it casually. The Emotional Investor, how Liam lost his fortune overnight. Liam followed every trend. Crypto, meme stocks, flipping NFTs. Whatever was hot, he jumped in. He believed passion would compensate for experience, that confidence could replace confidence. At first, the wins were quick and addictive, but then came the crash. And Liam, who once bragged about doubling his money in a week, found himself with empty accounts and a bruised ego. The lesson? If you entrust your gold to emotion, hype, or hope, it will vanish. Respect is the currency gold responds to. Treat gold like a gamble, and it will leave you like a bad bet. But treat it with respect by seeking experienced counsel, asking hard questions, researching before acting, and avoiding what you do not understand. Then gold will honor your discipline. Because gold doesn't demand brilliance, it demands care. How to protect your gold from disappearing. Never invest in what you don't understand. If you can't explain it to a 12-year-old, don't put your life savings in it. Seek advice from proven experts, not from friends, not from influencers, from those with results, not opinions. Delay your emotions. If the opportunity won't wait 24 hours, it's probably not worth your trust. Use trial money first. Let small amounts teach you before large ones humble you. Know the difference between confidence and arrogance. Gold does. What gold would say before you click buy? If you would not hand your life to a stranger, do not hand me to a stranger either. Before you invest, ask yourself, would a wise man of Babylon do this? Would someone who has earned gold trust it here? Because gold doesn't just grow or shrink, it follows character. The heart of this law is, gold is not lost in one bad decision. It is lost in the pattern of careless ones. And every time you invest recklessly, every time you let ego drive the wheel, gold takes a step backward until one day it vanishes completely. Don't chase opportunities that make you feel rich. Chase those that make you become rich. Because gold is not just a tool, it is a test. And only those who treat it with respect pass. Law number 5. Gold stays with the persistent learner. How wisdom makes wealth permanent. Gold is loyal, but only to the one who never stops learning. It doesn't stay with those who get lucky. It doesn't remain with those who strike once and celebrate forever. It dwells with the man who understands this final law. Gold stays with the man who invests in his ability to earn. Because in the end, Gold is not your greatest asset. You are. The forgotten truth of Babylon. Among all the scrolls and fables of Babylon, one truth hums beneath them all. Wealth is not what you possess. It is what you are capable of producing, again and again. A thief can steal your coins. A fire can burn your home. A crash can take your stocks, but no one can take your knowledge. The mind, sharpened by wisdom, will always attract more gold, because gold is drawn to competence like metal to a magnet. The story of Takar, the slave who became a merchant. Takar started with nothing, not even freedom, but he studied silently, persistently, while others slept. He observed how masters made trades. He listened when wise men debated gold and grain. He copied the habits of those who never ran out of coin. Years later, when he earned his freedom, he didn't ask for a gift, he asked for an opportunity. And because he had trained his mind, not just his hands, he built an empire. Takar became one of Babylon's wealthiest merchants, not because he was lucky, but because he invested in the one tool that never rusts, his ability to learn. The modern echo, Nathan and the compound mind. Nathan wasn't born rich, but he read every book he could find on finance, economics, negotiation, psychology. While his peers scrolled, he studied. While they chased fast income, he built slow expertise. He tried, failed, tried again, but each time he learned. By the age of 40, he wasn't just wealthy, he was indispensable. Not because he had the most connections, but because he could solve problems no one else could. The market always pays men who carry tools others don't. And learning is the sharpest tool of all. Why learning feels slow, but saves you decades. Most people won't follow this law. Why? Because learning feels unrewarding at first. There's no immediate dopamine, no applause, no transaction. But while others burn out chasing trends, the learner gains momentum, slow, silent, unstoppable. When the storm comes, the learner rebuilds. When markets crash, the learner adapts. When wealth disappears, the learner starts again, wiser, faster, stronger. Gold doesn't care how old you are. It doesn't care how many times you've failed. It only cares if you are still growing. The real meaning of wealth. True wealth is not measured in zeros. It's measured in capability. Can you create value? Can you adapt when systems change? Can you lead when others panic? Can you see what others miss? If yes, gold will follow you, because gold is a servant of mastery. How to keep gold forever. Read more than you consume. Gold honors readers. Trends honor consumers. Seek mentors, not cheerleaders. Find those who will challenge your thinking, not confirm it. Revisit your failures. There's more gold in your mistakes than in your paychecks. Invest time in timeless knowledge. Babylon's truths haven't changed because they never needed to. Remember, what you become attracts what you desire. Become the kind of man gold doesn't want to leave. What gold would tell the man who keeps growing? I trust you now. You see me not as a prize, but as a partner. and I will stay. Gold chooses homes, not vaults. It wants to live where it is protected, respected, and guided by wisdom. And the man who keeps learning, he is a fortress. The man who finally understood. A journey from desperation to discipline. He didn't become rich overnight. There was no windfall, no lottery, no dramatic twist of fate. What he gained was understanding. And with it came something more valuable than money, the confidence that gold would never leave again. He had walked through every stage, the desperation of not knowing where his money went, the pain of watching gold flee from foolish hands, the humility of saving before spending, the awakening of putting his money to work, the shame of reckless choices, and finally, the deep transformation that comes only from learning every single day. He was no longer a man who chased gold. He was a man gold chose to stay with. The real victory was invisible. His friends didn't notice at first. There was no flash, no luxury car, no designer clothes. But something had changed. He walked differently. He spoke with quiet certainty. He no longer feared the unexpected, because the foundation had been laid, stone by stone, habit by habit. His wealth wasn't loud, but it was real, and more importantly, it was his. What he finally understood about gold. Gold is not magic. It is not emotional. It does not love or hate, but it is loyal when you honor its laws. He realized that every coin had a voice, and for years those voices were screaming warnings he never listened to. Why are you letting me go so fast? Why am I working for your impulses, not your future? Why am I locked away when I could be growing? Why do you trust strangers more than you trust wisdom? But now, those voices were silent because they no longer needed to warn him. They were content because he finally listened. From a scarcity mindset to a stewardship mindset. He stopped asking, how can I make more? What's the fastest way to get rich? What's the secret hack to success? Instead, he began asking, how can I preserve what I already have? Who should I become to attract more? How do I make gold serve a purpose bigger than me? That shift from greed to guardianship was everything. He didn't want gold to impress people. He wanted gold to protect his family, his future, and his freedom. Discipline was the wealth he was missing. In the end, it wasn't the size of his income that changed his life. It was the size of his discipline. He showed up every day. He saved even when it was hard. He learned even when it was boring. He invested even when others doubted him. He refused to gamble, no matter how tempting. And over time, gold noticed. Gold came. Gold stayed. Gold multiplied. What the world never taught him, but Babylon did. School taught him algebra, but not assets. His job trained him to work, but not to grow. Society praised consumption, but not conservation. But the men of Babylon, they left behind eternal laws, not rules for kings, but principles for any man willing to honor them. He wasn't special. He was simply ready. Ready to listen, ready to change, ready to earn the right to keep what he once lost. And so, gold whispered one last thing into his ear. You no longer serve me. I now serve you. The 5 voices of gold. What each law would say if it could speak. If gold had a voice, if gold could speak like a wise old teacher, if it could sit beside you at night, look you in the eye and tell you the truth, what would it say? Not in charts, not in numbers, but in words that cut through your excuses, your fears, your habits. This is what the 5 laws of gold would whisper, if only you were quiet enough to listen. Voice 1, the voice of discipline. I come willingly to the man who respects me first, not after the fun, not after the bills, but before all else. Pay yourself first, and I will never abandon you. This voice doesn't shout. It waits every payday, watches where your first dollar goes. If it goes to someone else, it turns away. But if it goes to your future self, that voice leans in and says, "Now we begin." Voice 2, the voice of restraint. I flee from the man who spends without thinking. I am not your bandage, your distraction, or your thrill. If you chase pleasure, I will leave you in pain. This is the voice that watches you scroll through online carts. It sees you choose dopamine over destiny. And when your wallet echoes, it's not punishment, it's proof. Hold me tight, it says, or I will walk. Voice 3, the voice of growth. I work tirelessly when you let me. Put me to labor in fields you understand, and I will bring back my brothers. Leave me in the dark, and I will rot. This voice doesn't wait for motivation. It's ready to grow, day and night. Release me with intention, it says. Let me multiply while you sleep. Let me build a life you don't have to escape from. Voice 4, the voice of caution. I vanish from the hands of the foolish. Do not throw me into flames you do not understand. My loyalty ends where your recklessness begins. This voice is sharp. It's not here to flatter you. It's here to protect you from yourself. Ask questions, it pleads. Find wisdom. If your heart is louder than your mind, I will disappear. Voice 5, the voice of wisdom. I stay forever with the man who invests in himself. Learn, grow, adapt. For even if you lose me, I will return to a wiser you. This voice isn't urgent, it's eternal. It sees your books, it hears your podcasts, it watches you choose study over sleep. Keep sharpening your mind, it says. I am not your master, I am your reward. Together, these voices become one. They do not contradict, they harmonize. Discipline, restraint, multiplication, caution, wisdom. Each voice guards the gate to wealth. Each voice demands your attention. But here's the truth. Gold is always speaking. The question is, are you listening? The mirror test. If you were gold, would you stay with you? Imagine for a moment, you are not yourself. You are gold. Not just any gold, but gold with a voice, with awareness, with choice. You can choose where to go. You can choose whom to stay with. You can choose whose life to build and whose to walk away from. Now look in the mirror and ask yourself, if I were gold, would I stay with me? Would you stay with someone who wastes you? Would you stay with someone who tosses you into mindless purchases, who forgets you in shopping carts and weekend binges? Would you stay with someone who only thinks of you when you're gone, but never protects you when you're present? Gold doesn't stay where it's treated like a toy. It stays where it's treated like a tool. Use me wisely, gold would say, or watch me leave without regret. Would you stay with someone who locks you away in fear? Some people never spend, but they never grow either. They hoard gold like a prisoner. They chain it in savings accounts, terrified to lose it, but never brave enough to use it well. But gold hates stagnation. Gold wants to move, to multiply, to serve a purpose. If you do not give me purpose, gold would whisper, I will rust in silence, and you will remain poor, in spirit, if not in numbers. Would you stay with someone who trusts strangers more than themselves? Would you stay with someone who gives you to the latest trend, to the loudest voice on the internet, to a friend who knows nothing about investing, but everything about convincing? Gold is not impressed by noise. It seeks wisdom, not popularity. If you trust me with fools, I will become a fool's prize, and you will be the fool who lost me. Would you stay with someone who grows every day? Now, would you stay with someone who never stops learning, who studies late, asks hard questions, and seeks truth over convenience, who doesn't chase you, but becomes someone worthy of you? Gold smiles in those hands. It doesn't run. It roots itself. Because gold knows it has found a home, not a holder, a builder. Stay curious, gold says. Stay humble, and I will stay forever. The mirror never lies. This test is not about money. It's about who you've become in your relationship with money. Because gold doesn't lie. It's a perfect mirror. It reflects your habits. It reveals your fears. It magnifies your discipline. It exposes your excuses. And it all does it without a single word. So ask again, quietly, honestly, if I were gold, would I stay with me? If the answer is no, change. If the answer is yes, continue. And if the answer is maybe, grow until it's a definite yes. The Babylonian lens. Why these laws will never expire. Thousands of years ago, the streets of Babylon echoed with the clinking of coins, the murmur of merchants, and the quiet counsel of wise men under stone arches. There were no stock markets, no apps, no credit cards, but wealth still had rules, and those rules still speak today. Because the truth is simple. The world has changed, but gold has not, and the human heart hasn't either. Why Babylon still matters. You live in a world of AI, crypto, high-speed trading, and financial noise so loud it drowns your instincts. But Babylon speaks in clarity. While today's experts sell complexity, Babylon offers simplicity that endures. Save first. Spend wisely. Invest in what you understand. Avoid the traps of ignorance. Grow yourself before you grow your wallet. These principles are not just financial, they are foundational. They are not about getting rich, they are about becoming someone wealth trusts. Technology evolves, but principles don't. In Babylon, people carried gold in bags. Today, we carry numbers on a screen, but the emotions are the same. Fear of missing out, desire for comfort, temptation to compare, shame around failure, hope that something faster will save us. Babylon didn't offer fast, it offered forever. It told stories, not strategies. It taught through parables, not predictions. Because the wise knew, truth that is simple enough to be remembered is powerful enough to last through centuries. The ancient principles in a modern mask. Let's take a look at the 5 laws of gold through a Babylonian lens and a modern eye. Babylonian law. Save at least 1/10 of your income. Modern meaning. Automate savings. Pay yourself first. Babylonian law, control your expenses. Modern meaning, live below your means, budget with discipline. Babylonian law, make your money work for you. Modern meaning, invest for long-term passive returns. Let compound interest grow. Babylonian law, protect your wealth from loss. Modern meaning, avoid scams, don't gamble, do due diligence. Babylonian law, increase your ability to earn. Modern meaning, learn skills, improve mindset, become financially literate. The packaging may change, but the heart of wealth does not. Why most people still fail, even today? Because people want noise. They want drama. They want fast. They want shortcuts. But Babylon whispers, wealth is quiet. It walks slowly, and it lives only with the patient. Most ignore this. They jump from trend to trend, guru to guru, plan to plan, and end up in the same place, exhausted, confused, broke. But a few, a small few, still listen to the old voice in the scrolls, and those few build empires, not overnight, but over a lifetime. A bridge from the past to the present. You're not living in Babylon, but you can live by its wisdom, because these laws are not tied to geography or currency. They are tied to human nature. And if you can master your nature, you can master your money. So the real question is not, will these laws still work in 2025 or 2050 or beyond? The real question is, will you have the courage to follow them when the world begs you not to? The final conversation. What Gold said the moment he truly listened. He sat alone on the same wooden bench where years ago he first wept in silence. Back then his pockets were empty, but worse, his mind was crowded with noise, fear, pride, shame, confusion. Now the pockets were full, but more importantly, so was his clarity. The man who had once chased gold now sat beside it in stillness, not as a beggar, not as a master, but as an equal, finally. And for the first time, gold spoke clearly, not in riddles, not in parables, but in a voice that sounded like truth wrapped in peace. What Gold said. You were never asking the wrong questions. You were just asking them at the wrong time. You asked how to earn more when you hadn't learned how to keep what you had. You asked where to invest before you knew what you believed. You asked how to grow money before you grew yourself. You thought I was the answer, but I was always the result. I am the shadow of your character. I am the echo of your discipline. I am the reward, not the reason. You never needed to chase me. You needed to become the man I would choose to stay with. The man answered. He didn't respond with words at first, only a slow, knowing smile. He finally understood that gold had never left him. He had simply not been ready to hold it. But now he had become the kind of man who didn't just have wealth, he had mastery over it. And gold whispered one last time, you listened, you changed, you earned me. And now I will serve you quietly, loyally, without question. Not because you own me, but because you respected me. And with that, the conversation ended, not with applause, not with fireworks, but something better, silence full of certainty. a final word to you. You came here for advice. You stayed for the truth. And now you carry what few ever do. Not a secret, not a strategy, but a way of thinking, a financial philosophy rooted in ancient wisdom, built on discipline, and made for men who dare to think long-term. Because in the end, gold does not change men. Gold reveals who men have chosen to become. When gold becomes a quiet friend. Gold never really speaks, but it always answers. It answers the disciplined saver with growth, the thoughtful spender with peace, the patient investor with multiplication, the cautious steward with protection, and the lifelong learner with loyalty. If the 10 parts of this journey have shown anything, it is this. Wealth starts in the mirror, not in the market. The first coin you pay yourself is a vote for the person you are becoming. Money is a servant that rebels against careless masters. The leak of one undisciplined purchase is enough to sink an otherwise unsinkable ship if the leak is ignored long enough. Compounding is quiet, but its echo is thunder. While you sleep, properly deployed gold keeps moving, negotiating, and returning with allies. Loss is rarely accidental. It is usually invited. Every reckless investment is a handwritten invitation for poverty to visit and stay. The mind is the only safe vault. Armies, fire, recessions, or thieves may take everything else. They cannot confiscate competence. Your next 3 steps. Audit. List every coin that entered and exited your life in the last 30 days. Where did gold smile? Where did it flee? Assign. Give every future coin a role before you earn it. Save, protect, multiply, or learn. No coin goes unnamed. Advance. Choose one new skill that will make you more valuable 12 months from now and invest time or tuition in it this week. A quiet promise. Follow the 5 laws and gold offers a covenant. Treat me with purpose and patience, and I will outwork, outgrow, and outlast every quick fortune you have ever envied. That covenant is older than Babylon, yet as fresh as the paycheck you will receive next Friday. So close this video, but keep the laws open in your life. Let gold be your silent friend, not your noisy master. And one day you will awaken to discover that wealth did not merely visit you. It moved in, unpacked its bags, and called your discipline home.